Dr. Priyanka, working as an assistant professor in Department of Physiology, Sree Balaji Medical College and Hospital. I've got 18 years of experience in teaching, 19 publications, with one ICMR STS project completed, ISAK level 1 course finished, and then one patent published. Along with that, I have 4 ongoing projects presently. Going for today's class, the topic is on thalamus. So, what are the learning objectives that we are going to catch up today is your thalamus, the structure and functions, thalamic nuclei. We have the anatomical classification, physiological classification. We will also see a part of the connections with the thalamus and then functions and lastly the applied aspects. So, before going to study about the thalamus, let's see a broad classification of the central nervous system. It consists of the peripheral nervous system and your central nervous system. Your peripheral nervous system, as usual, consists of your autonomic. The autonomic consists of your sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The central nervous system consists of your brain and the spinal cord. The brain has forebrain, midbrain and the hindbrain. The forebrain consists of the telencephalon, diencephalon and the mesencephalon. The midbrain consists of the mesencephalon, the hindbrain consists of your metencephalon and your myelencephalon. The topic of today is thalamus, so let's go to the forebrain portion which consists of the diencephalon, which consists of the thalamus and the hypothalamus. So thalamus. So what the thalamus, the word actually means, it is called as the gateway to the cerebral cortex. It is also called as the meeting place, it is also called as the pit stop, it is also called as the inner chamber. So it has got different meanings, all focusing into the same functions. So it is like an egg-shaped organ, it is a mass of grey matter, it is the largest part of your diencephalon. Along with the hypothalamus, together they form the borders of the third ventricle of your brain. So where is it exactly located? It is located between your cerebral cortex and the midbrain, deep inside your forebrain, below the corpus callosum. So on either side you will have a pair of thalamus seen on either side of your third ventricle. So what are the different nuclei present in your thalamus? So how is the nuclei actually getting categorized? We have an imaginary Y-shaped intermedullary lamina which is going to split the whole thalamus into 3 portions, the anterior, the medial and your lateral. So based upon this, the nucleus is also categorized into anterior group of nuclei, the lateral group of nuclei and the medial group of nuclei. So there is no much classification in the anterior nor in the medial, but in the lateral group you have a number of nuclei present which is going to pertain to different functions. Let us see one by one. So the lateral posterior, the lateral dorsal, the ventral anterior, the ventral lateral, and the ventral posterior nuclei consists of 3 types of nuclei, your ventral posterolateral, ventral posteromedial and your ventral intermediate nuclei, and the back portion you have your pulvinar. So below the pulvinar you have your medial geniculate body and your lateral geniculate body. So what are the functions of thalamus? The thalamus is a relay station. As I told you, it is a meeting part of it is the gateway for your cerebral cortex. It is the gate. So anything that we have to go into the house, we have to cross the gate. Same way for thalamus also, without crossing the thalamus, no sensation actually reaches your cerebral cortex, but one sensation except your olfaction alone does not cross via your thalamus and it straight away goes to your cerebral cortex. So what is the purpose of crossing the thalamus? The sensations are sorted, edited, integrated and relayed to specific areas of the cerebral cortex. So the specific thalamic nuclei have reciprocal connections with your cerebral cortex. So apart from that, it is important for appreciating the pain and crude touch. It is the relay center for your audition, especially your medial geniculate body. It is a relay center for your vision, your lateral geniculate body. So let us see one by one. So this is a small picture of showing you how the lateral geniculate body works for your visual sensations. So the lateral geniculate body located just below your pulvinar receives input from your optic tract and projects output to your primary visual cortex area number 17. Suppose if this lateral geniculate body is getting lesioned or damaged, it leads to contralateral homonymous hemianopia where the same hemifield in both the eyes are lost. Next one is the medial geniculate body, again located next to the lateral geniculate body. It is involved for your auditory system. So it receives impulses from your auditory nerves and then especially your inferior colliculus, and then gives output to your primary auditory cortex area number 41 and 42. Lesion in your medial geniculate body leads to your effects in hearing. The auditory information from it is going to affect both the ears because it is ascending bilaterally. You have the ventroposteromedial and the ventroposterolateral nuclei. So the function of these two nuclei, it is important for your somatosensation of your head and the body. It is going to include your touch, pain, temperature and proprioception. It is going to receive input from your ventral trigeminothalamic tract, so and from your medial lemniscus and from your lateral spinothalamic tract. In turn, it is going to give efferent outputs to your primary somatosensory area 3, 1, 2. Lesion in this area leads to loss of pain, temperature, proprioception in the contralateral part of the body, and same modalities on the contralateral lesion of your head and face also. Other functions, it is going to mediate your recent and long-term memory. It has got a role in sleep and wakefulness because it is associated with your reticular formation. It is necessary for alertness, attention and learning. It is important for your genesis of EEG. It is going to help in your controlled and coordinated movements because it is associated with your basal ganglia and your cerebellum. It is going to help in your for smooth slow movements. Again, it has got connections with the cortex, thalamus and the basal ganglia, and it enables the motor cortex to constantly modify and command for your voluntary motor actions. It is also important for your higher functions like intelligence, memory, social behavior and personality because it is receiving input from your dorsomedial nuclei, and when this is getting disrupted, your Papez circuit is also getting damaged, leading to disturbance in emotions and memory. Going for the applied aspects, it is the thalamic syndrome of DeGeneres-Rossi. It is because of the obstruction or occlusion in a branch of your posterior cerebral artery. So what happens is that it is going to lead to contralateral hemisensory loss in head and neck. It is going to lead to dysesthesia, where it is disagreeable sensation produced by ordinary stimuli itself, and it is also going to produce spontaneous intractable pain, that is, it is called as a thalamic pain, and there is emotional instability seen in this kind of patients. So what are the other symptoms that we see in case of the thalamic syndrome? The first one is loss of touch and thermal sensations on the opposite side of the body because your ventroposteromedial and the ventroposterolateral nucleus is getting damaged here. It is going to lead on to allodynia, where pain is elicited by non-noxious stimuli. It is also going to lead to dysesthesia. Abnormal sensations are also seen in this kind of patients. There is thalamic phantom limb. So this is most common in case of amputated patients, where with eyes closed they are unable to locate the position of the limbs, or they start searching in the air. So due to loss of joint position or movement proprioception, this is actually seen. Amygdalonausea is another condition where the patient feels that the affected limb is not there due to loss of proprioception. They also have loss of tactile localization and sensory ataxia due to loss of conscious proprioception. Astereognosis, they have inability to identify even known objects with eyes closed. Thalamic ataxia is seen where there is incoordination and impairment of cutaneous and kinesthetic sensations. Thalamic overreaction is also observed where there is spontaneous pain may occur. Even a small slight touch may cause an excruciating, intolerable pain. This is a condition of hyperalgesia, and it leads to choreoathetosis and tremors where there is rapid involuntary dancing movements due to loss of connections between the basal ganglia and the cerebellum. There is intentional tremor due to loss of connections with the cerebellum. Loss of recent memory is seen with disrupted emotions because of the damage to the Papez circuit. Emotional upset is seen with visual defects. As I told you before, it is your homonymous hemianopia because of the lesion in your lateral geniculate body, and the medial geniculate body lesion leads to your auditory defects. Hypotonia is also observed where there is profound muscular weakness due to interruption in thalamic connections of motor cortex area number 4 and prefrontal cortex area number 6. Thalamic syndrome, lastly, is another observed symptom. It is also called as the athetoid hand, where there is moderate flexion of the elbow and the wrist and hyperextension of the fingers. So it is actually the wrist is pronated and flexed. The metacarpophalangeal joints is flexed. The interphalangeal joints are extended with a very little movement, with a restricted movement actually. So this is the condition of the thalamic athetoid hand. So that's all for today. With that, we come to the end of the class. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.